I keep noticing on social media posts there's a lot of rage bait. I didn't think that was a word, but now I think it's applicable. So there's people that I really admire and they're articulate and interesting, and I think they have a valid point, but they never offer a solution to a problem. They just state the problem. And we all know that there's chemtrails and our water is polluted and food in Western society is absolute garbage. I talk a lot about the healing effects of art, but if you're still eating an ultra processed diet and you're not grounding and you're scrolling this constant rage bait on social media, you are complying with what they're trying to do, which is anger you, hijack your nervous system, and continue to self poison. What I try to do is I just in my own little way, in my own corner of the world, is try to say there is a solution. You can take control of your nervous system and center yourself and get more peace. So today's video, I don't think I talk about it enough, but I do have an art community on school, and it's not so much about learn art. There's plenty of people who are far better than me at teaching art and art skills. But what I constantly tell the students in there is if you're feeling stressed or depressed or blocked somehow, the actual practice of trying art, growing your skill, will calm the brain down. So, I'm going to give you a sneak peek into a lesson that I posted this week, and it was all about watercolor and how exciting, and this is how I make my palette. And at the end of it, I think the art that I made was a miss. It could be a fail. I don't even care what kind of label it is, but at least I freaking tried. And for an hour plus, I was gazing at an image of Jesus and I tried. And I think sometimes I just have to let students know it's okay if your work sucks. You freaking tried. And what took place in your brain while you were trying? So, watch this video to the end and you'll see my big fail, which I think is an actual win because I didn't abandon it. I wanted to. I wanted to. But I said, nope, nope, let's just go ahead and finish this and see where it goes. So take control of the areas of your life that you can. Increase your faith, get more creative, meditate, slow down your social media scrolling, and come join me and learn art. It is a free community for right now because I do believe we are in a mental health crisis and you deserve more. So, God bless you. Thanks for watching and roll the video. Okay, so this is part one. I got my artist tape and my new watercolor sketchbook, and you'll see that that is a 1/2 inch tape, and we want that to border the paper. Just get into the practice of putting the border on, so when you go to make a real work of art, you'll have a nice clean edge. So this is new to me, and if you're just wanting to get started, get these materials. And it was relatively inexpensive. I think the tape was like $8 and the sketchbook was like 22. So I'm just looking through it. I haven't done watercolor in a long time. I like that it has this little holder in the back so I can put my new works of art in the back. And this back page is bent. You see that crease? It's kind of frustrating, but oh well. It has a black elastic holder to keep the book open. And now you'll see that I'm applying the 1/2 inch painter's tape border. You don't want to waste it. Just use what you need. as you're laying it out. And there's a perforated edge. So you don't want to put, you want to put that on the outside of that edge. So so you can use the whole watercolor paper as your artwork. And I just go ahead and I do the border, a nice little square. We're just getting used to our new materials. And once I have it laid out, I'm going to get out this brand is called Sennelier, very, very expensive watercolor paints. And I've used them a little bit in the past. I wasn't going to buy some cheap watercolor off-brand because the colors are, the pigment in the more expensive paints is completely worth it. And instead of doing a traditional color wheel, I don't see those as helpful. I'm just going to do the little squares of the paint so I can see what colors each are. I can't see them when they're in the tins. So I'm just doing the squares all the way up the exact way that they're laid out. So when I do go to make a painting, I'll say, oh, I need that kind of green, and I'll know exactly which one it is. The colors are vibrant, they're beautiful. I'm realizing as I'm painting them that I've got way too much water, way too much paint. It's kind of leaking into the other squares, and that's okay. This is our bent last sheet of paper in the back of the book. This is just step one. We're getting used to it. We are laying out our colors just so we can see the pigment, the hue, the saturation. And that red it's pretty intense. You got to be careful with red in any of your paintings. Sometimes it can overpower a painting. So I'm counting the blocks because the one block seems a little bit shorter, but that's it. That's step one. And you'll see this little piece of paper that I cropped out. These are my colors. So this is part 2 of adding white to each of the colors that we have laid out. And I sped this up because it actually took a little bit of time. What I really like about the adding a little drop of white is the softness it gave to each color. And the other colors next to it, those are our primary. We didn't mix them, we just laid them out so we can have a color guide for when you are ready to do your first painting. And I am going to start on a painting today, but I want you guys to be able to see how a color wheel, well, it's not really a wheel, but a color chart is for your benefit. You can see what adding a little bit of white to each color does, how it softens it. And then we have each row laid out for visual reference. I'll go through here afterwards and kind of clean up my paints. I don't want the whites or the darks to be mixed into the color when I do go to make a painting. But this is just a super helpful guide for you. If you are going to add whites to your real artwork, I would definitely recommend doing it to all the colors in the painting. You want unity. So I slowed this part down a little bit. I was mixing complementary colors. So blue and orange are complementary colors. When you mix them together, you get the most beautiful shade. It's like a forest green. So we can look at the green in the tin and say, oh, which one looks more like a tree. I think you just get really cool natural shades when you mix complementary. And then I mix the red and the green here, and we'll see what color we get from that. And it's just a really rich, beautiful dark shade. I then did the purple and yellow, which are complementary. And we're just finding out what shade will come of mixing the two complementary colors. And again, I really like the shades from the complementary mixing. It's natural, it's beautiful, it's not aggressive. I then go through this last part of the tutorial and I'm adding black to each color. I'm not a big fan of this, but if I decided to do a painting with a touch of black on all the shades, it would probably be pretty cool. I wouldn't recommend mixing white and black to colors in a painting. It'll get muddy and messy really quick. And on the darker row of colors, when I mixed in the black, I think it turned out beautiful. I was like, oh, these are cool colors. Moody and dark, and they look like they all go together really nicely. When I added the black to the brighter row of colors, it definitely had a muddy effect. With each of these practices, you're getting more used to your materials and colors. And then you'll have this, because I'm not going to pull it out of my sketchbook. You'll have this in the back of your book. You can always reference it when you're ready to lay out your first painting. I had an art teacher who told me never ever use black, but I like to outline with black. I think it's pretty cool. Here I'm labeling each one, so it's the right side of the tin or the left side, and the center rows, those are what I mixed with a little bit of white, and then I put the C in the middle for complementary.